Welcome to Black History Monday, the show that takes you on a journey through Black history to expose our contributions, as well as many racial massacres hidden from history. So sit back, free your mind, and follow me on this journey. The Thibodaux Massacre. Less than 2 decades after slavery was outlawed in the United States, many African Americans working in the South began to realize the power that labor represented. This led to an increasing number of strikes, especially among sugar workers. In 1887, some sugar workers reached out to the Knights of Labor, the biggest union of them all. With the help of organized labor, the black workers soon began to demand appropriate wages. Instead of negotiating, the plant owners began firing union members. Ignored, 10,000 sugar workers, 90% of whom were African American, went on strike November 1st at a critical production time for the industry, bringing the entire region's economy to a stop. Plantation owners asked Louisiana Governor John McEnery, a sugar planter himself, and state militia for help, which they got. When the strikes began, soldiers kicked out all of the striking workers and sent them packing to live in an African-American section of Louisiana known as Thibodaux. Local police were left to oversee order with the strikers. As the crops became more endangered as the strike wore on, hostile white residents of Thibodaux became more agitated. Rumors swirled that blacks were firing on white scab workers at the plantations, so white city leaders set up martial law within city limits, enforcing it only against blacks. On November 22nd, black strikers and their families, most unarmed, were rounded up by groups of white vigilantes and shot on the spot. Over 3 days, as many as 300 African Americans were killed, but no official accounting was taken at the time. No whites were killed. Defeated and brutalized, the workers all went back to the plantations, and not one person faced justice. In fact, one of the murderers even won a seat in Congress the following year. No effort to organize the black sugar plantation workers was made for another 63 years. The 2 militia companies that arrived in Thibodaux were not the only ones to take part in strike breaking. Other companies were sent to Houma and Lockport. Some 10,000 plantation workers took part in the strike. Most of the strikers were black, but nearly 1,000 were white. This was part of the violent end to the Reconstruction era of the United States. It was also a devastating attack on organized labor. As explained in the Smithsonian Magazine, the Union died with the strikers and the assassins went unpunished. There was no federal inquiry, and even the coroner's inquest refused to point the finger at the murderers. Sugar planter Andrew Price was among the attackers that morning. He won a seat in Congress the next year. Southern black farm workers would not attempt to unionize again until the 1930s, when the Southern Tenant Farmers Union attracted both white and African American members, but it too was met by a violent racist backlash. The struggle for Southern unions continued into the Civil Rights era. On the night before he was assassinated in Memphis, Martin Luther King Jr. gave a speech supporting striking sanitation workers. He urged his audience to give ourselves to this struggle until the end. You may not be on strike, but either we go up together or we go down together. Listen, this is common sense. This will never end because the government and law enforcement doesn't want it to end. If this were happening to a Bush, Clinton, or Rothschild, it would be stopped swiftly and by any means necessary. People with darker skin are not important enough in the eyes of this government to protect us from racial violence. You can agree or disagree. I really don't care. The fact that many of these massacres have been hidden from every history class speaks volumes. How exactly does allowing all this racial violence make America great again? Next week, Monday, we will continue on this journey as we walk through the doors of history. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Click the notification bell so you'll be notified when we upload new videos. Find The Awakening Frequency on Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook. Research is key. Always do your own research and never just listen to what people tell you. We are The Awakening Frequency. Out of the millions of potential subscribers, we just want to reach one so each one can teach one. Peace.